Ooh. Yes! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Side Projekt Podcast. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Imposter Cosplay is here with me today. And I feel like usually I always do, as everybody knows, I do these big intros for everybody and everything. The dude has been here like 4 times. How many intros can I possibly do? You know what I mean? Unless you got like new cosplays.
I think you've covered them all. Yeah.
You know?
Maybe I try to like improv one. You
know, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, today, your host with the most, the one man whose voice, his own voice could rival that of Paul Dano's. The one man who weekly puts out gold, gemstone after gemstone.
Thank you, man.
The one guy who's got it all. The Chazosaurus Rex.
Yes! There we go, man.
I should have written one out, man.
No, that was good right off the top, dude. Thank you, man. Yeah, Imposter is a frequent guest now, and him and I have talked about this on the side anyway, having him rotate in. You know, we're friends. We become friends from doing all this and meeting each other through all this, and it's we just have great conversations, man. But for those that may not know, because there's always new people coming in and out, or people that see promo clips on Instagram or anything. If you have no idea who Imposter is, most people do if they tune into this show. But for those that just so happen to be tuning in for the first time, Imposter is an amazing cosplayer and designer, even collaborating with me on side project merch designs, with some of his cosplays ranging from Superman to Turbo Man, Darkseid to even Coach Darkseid. It's hilarious. You have to check that out. He's done an amazing Nightmare Robin, one of my favorites actually. Matt Reeves' iteration of the Riddler, several different Batmans as you can kind of see him rocking right now, including but not limited to the recent Robert Pattinson version, to the iteration of the animated mech suit. You definitely have to find that. He even has shots with his son as Peacemaker, a parody of Peacemaker, and the list goes on and on and on and on. So make sure you're following Imposter, and you can find him on Instagram at Imposter Cosplay, all one word, normal spelling, just in case there's anybody that doesn't know. I guess that was still kind of an intro.
So much for no intro, dude.
Yeah, I know, right?
You just sent it right in. That's an intro.
I guess it is. Yeah, pretty much, man. Let's waste no time, dude, because I know there's so much that we both want to talk about, and it probably could run on forever. The Batman. I saw it. You saw it.
Ready.
A lot of people saw it. But if you haven't got around to seeing it yet, this will not be a spoiler-free episode. This is going to spoil the whole movie. We're going to be talking about it, and that means all the details that we can possibly talk about, whatever comes to mind. So if you haven't seen it, this is your warning right now. That's why I'm stalling, giving you a little bit of time to turn away if you want to turn away. But I suggest that you don't turn away. And spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Let's get into it, man. The Batman. Just right away.
Right away.
What do you think, dude?
I think just it had me grasp from the intro monologue. I think everyone agrees with that. It moved so much like a graphic novel. And I think that hasn't been done before. And I know people might say it has, and you go back and forth and you think about all the different iterations. And definitely Tim Burton's was more of a hyper-realistic version of Gotham and Batman, but it was also still its own iteration. It was a Tim Burton-esque Batman.
Right. But it was still kind of, I always say kind of like theatrical, like, you know, it's like theatrics with Tim Burton's version, you know, in comparison to others.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was just, it hit the nail on the head when it came to when people say things like pulled straight from the comic book pages. I found it so interesting that they were able to make it feel like that, yet make it something that we've never seen before, something so brand new, something different. And yet it felt so familiar. And that's what I think people have been saying when they say it's the perfect Batman.
Right.
movie.
I agree.
I think that's what people are saying when they talk about that.
Right. I agree. This world that we live in right now with like superhero films, I mean, the last like, what would it be now? I always get stuck saying like 10 or 11 years because of the way that Marvel kind of changed.
We're getting up there in age, man. Yeah. That's like, we're getting 15 now.
I think it's like 15 years. Yeah, it's closer to like 14, 15 years or something. But I always say like, I always get stuck saying 10 or 11 because Marvel kind of kickstarted this new era, I would say, of superhero films, and especially with shared universes and everything. I think they kind of really made that a bigger thing. So I always thinking that we're we're still 10, 11 years, but it's not. It's been a while since we've had these superhero movies, and they've become bigger in cinema than ever before. And I think with all these past years, a decade plus, we've kind of gotten, I don't know if used to is the right word, but I'm going to use it anyway. I think we've kind of gotten used to a certain format with superhero movies. Mm-hmm. And I mean, some, drift off and do their own thing and then this and that. But I think we've kind of gotten used to a certain format. And then, like I said, I know this is a DC centric episode, but with Marvel taking the reins and doing what they did, and then DC kind of trying to follow suit with the DCEU and, Justice League and putting everybody together. Standalone films aren't as common anymore as they used to be. And I have always had mixed emotions about standalone versus shared universes. I am a big fan of shared universes because that's something that happens in the comics. People meet people and this and that, characters go off and et cetera, et cetera. But seeing the Batman, and then, I guess it also, you could say the Joker, the recent Joker was a standalone as well. But since we're talking about the Batman, seeing the Batman and having it be a standalone, like I said, I'm a big fan of shared universes, but watching this, I hadn't realized how much I missed a standalone, in the superhero world.
Agreed, man. And that's what it feels like. That's what I'm trying to say when I said they built this universe, because we have gotten so used to this formula and the setup of how superhero movies feel.
Right.
And that's where the Batman succeeded with rivaling Marvel in a way, because so Marvel we love because the formula works and it gives you a certain feeling, and it gives you a certain feeling watching a Marvel movie. Know what you're getting, and that feeling is awesome because of the shared universes. All the characters are cast well, the action sequences, the story, everything is just such a perfectly boxed up package in a bow, and it gives you this feeling. It feels like a comic book movie.
Right.
This feels like a graphic novel movie. It moves like a detective story.
Yes.
It's lengthy. It's got weight to it. Every shot has carries weight, carries the sense of importance, and it carries the sense of somehow this is more important than what I think it is. And I think that's proven even from the trailer that Matt Reeves took such a big concept such as I'm Vengeance. It was such a cool way to show that his movie stood out when he first dropped the trailer is the I'm Vengeance, because you're watching it. I'm watching DC Fandom. We're marathoning it here with a bunch of people watching. And we're like, here it is. He's going to say, I'm Batman.
Right.
And you're like,
whoa.
Chills. I got to kill just now just saying it. And you're like, damn.
Yes.
And that was such a way to show this is going to be different.
Exactly.
And you thought it was just a line, but then by the end of the movie, that's the core concept of the movie. And my mind was blown. Definitely. But this gives you the same feeling for a comic book movie that Marvel does, but it does it in a different way. It's not familiar.
Exactly.
It's a different world. You can't pinpoint anything. And whatever, when I'm comparing on today's episode for whoever says, I'm not saying these other things are bad, and I'm not saying negative things about them. I'm saying them to show the comparison between the two. And one thing I'm going to compare is how Marvel and even DC feels like they're set in a world that we're familiar with. You watch Chris Nolan's movies, that's Chicago. You see a building from Chicago, and that's cool. It's grounded in reality. Marvel, it's in New York, unless they're on a different planet, then it's all green screen.
Yeah.
But it's all got this familiarity to it.
Right.
The Batman doesn't. You're looking at it and you're like, where is that?
Yes.
And the second that thought went through my head, where is that? I went, oh, it's Gotham.
Exactly.
I didn't have to try to pinpoint where it is. I didn't go, where was that? And I was trying to figure it out. I said, where's that? I'm going to go, it's Gotham.
Yes.
And that's when
felt
I
like
realized,
Gotham. Matt Reeves did a phenomenal job making this feel like Gotham, 100%, like a Gotham, like something that you would read if you were a comic, or even certain things in the animated films as well. Cause I'm a giant DC animated film fan, It feels, the feelings are different. It feels like Gotham. It's a good familiarity with like the animated and everything. Cause it feels good. It feels like Gotham. And even like the games, the Arkham games, it feels like Gotham. It feels good. I feel like Matt Reeves did a great job taking all of these things from comics, taking all of these things from the animated films, things from his own iteration and its inspirations and et cetera, the tone, the cinematography, the colors that they use throughout this film. Like he did a great job portraying everything and making us feel familiar with the
We've been there before.
Exactly.
But not on screen.
Yeah, and not this way, you know? And he did a great job. I think I've said, I was going to say I said in a past episode, but it wasn't I've probably said it in past episodes too, but I recorded like 9 pieces of content, like pre-recorded like 9 pieces of content. And I forget that I haven't put them out yet. So I was about to like spoil some stuff, but there's oh man, I lost my train of thought. What was I going to say? Like the animated films do such a good job at connecting to the source material and connecting to the fans. And I think that's something that DC, or I guess you could say Warner Bros, tends to hit or miss on. With, I think, personally, my opinion, live action, more misses than hitting as of late, especially with the shared universe DC movies. This hit the mark on so many levels. And I'm so happy that Matt Reeves understood the assignment. You know, he stayed true to the source material, but brought his vision to it. And it's almost like he knew what the fans wanted, and like whether we said it or didn't say it, he knew what we wanted. He was like, I've got this, just trust me. And that's something that I have said in past episodes where people that were speculative about it, I was like, they know what they're doing. Just trust this one. They know what they're doing. I get this feeling from it that they know what they're doing, man. And after seeing it,
you know what it is?
Did.
Mm-hmm. They nailed it, man. And the reason it feels like that, and this is the only way I can put it, it feels like the highest, biggest budget fan-made movie we've ever gotten. It's the reason we love fan-made movies. Bat in the Sun, Death in the Family, all these people who are producing this quality content with these iterations of these characters that we love. It was a high budget version of that. It was made by fans. It was made by people who understood the source material and people who wanted to do it justice, pun intended. So, and not straying away from the neon lights and not straying away from the lighting it the correct way, just as shots go and as Gotham goes, is so important. And I feel like most other movies, like I said, I'm not bashing anything else. I'm comparing, like the Chris Nolan movies didn't have to do that. Gotham didn't have to be a character in these movies. Gotham didn't have to be
definitely
changed.
A character in Matt Reeves' iteration.
This is a character.
100%.
You don't need, you don't need to, like, as much as I can explain it, going into the Iceberg Lounge, when they said there's another part in the Iceberg Lounge and we need to go in it, I felt like they were inside a monster and they're like, we need to go deeper. We need to get swallowed up to go. And it was like uncomfortable. Yeah. And they made you feel that way. Well, let's get into it. Let's get so the whole intro monologue coming out of the shadows. The whole instilling fear is such a great way to, again, differentiate from other movies. I'm going to try not to compare too much, but you know, in Batman Begins is definitely like, how do I instill fear? How do I become fear? What do I need to do? What are my steps as becoming legend, Mr. Wayne quote, you know? This was, he's already accepted that, and he is the shadows, and he says, I am the shadows, and he's already established that fear. That fear exists. The bat signal's up in the sky, and we're going. And I like that, because even though they kept saying, or not origin story, but the first 2 years, I was still expecting a lot more elements of building that trust, and with Gordon and all these elements of just starting out, but they weren't there. It was starting out, but starting out as a character arc for Batman, but he was already Batman. He was already in this fear that went through Gotham and did what he was intending to do, which is stopping crime without being able to be everywhere. He's like, I can't be everywhere. It's impossible, but they think I am. And just that alone, I feel like, and that's when it comes again into a fan film, that could have been a fan film. That alone there, and then just showing one shot of a guy dressed as Batman coming out, and then that fight scene, that alone could have been a fan film, and people would say that it's more true. It's a more true iteration of that character than some other aspects of media have tried to be. So that alone worked really well for me. Just the intro, and then we kind of hit the ground running. There was no stopping. There was no pause moments. Every moment had me done. It had me feeling like I was like a part of a dance. Like I felt like it was trying to pick me up, and then it was going somewhere else, and I was able to move with it. I was able to adjust with it and adjust with Batman until realizing we are just as lost as Batman is in the movie. And it's by design. You know what I mean? Because that makes a good villain. If your villain is Riddler, that needs to be the feeling. And that's the whole thing that the Riddler brings as a villain now. Costume aside, casting aside, let's put that all aside. The character itself, what do you want it to be? You want it to be this mystery, this part of Batman that he thinks he has figured out, but never truly does.
Right.
And the whole movie runs like that. It runs like a piece. And every time he figures out a piece, he figures out a smaller piece than what Riddler had intended, which makes Batman more lost and frustrated.
Yes. And I like that aspect. I like that aspect of like, he's supposed to be the world's greatest detective, but he's not 100% the world's greatest detective just yet. You see him make some mistakes, and Gordon too. You see them make some mistakes throughout the film, and not understanding everything 100%, which goes to show you that this is still a young Bat, a young Bruce. You know, they haven't perfected everything 100%. This is year 2, just like you said. I love that aspect, man.
You know, as a character, I know what Batman is supposed to be. I know on paper what he is. He's the world's greatest detective. He's a skilled martial artist. He has gadgets. He has unlimited resources. But in a movie, it's just no fun to write it like that. It's not any fun to write it like that. So make him struggle. Make him figure these things out.
Yes, I love that.
Because guess what? By doing that, you are relating him more to the audience.
Exactly.
Because you are giving, when writers write Batman like they write Superman, impossible to beat, like, oh, well, Batman's got prep time. That's a fun joke and all. That's really funny in the nerd community. It's great to make those points. But honestly, when it comes down to it, it's less relatable as a character. And giving him the struggle and him trying to figure it out, and he can't fit in with the GCPD, and he's only got Gordon. His relationship with Gordon is stronger than one with Alfred, which again, comparing but not trying to, never been done before.
And I loved that
killed
too.
it as Alfred, but I'm glad it wasn't a thing because it didn't need to be. It kind of, what it did is it brought Bruce Wayne back a little bit more than letting Batman. There was
a lot less Alfred than I had expected. Now that you bring that up, I didn't think about that really until right now. I mean, it crossed my mind during the movie a little bit here and there, but now that you brought it up, you know, after I've seen it and everything, there's a lot less Alfred, I think, in this movie than I guess maybe any other movie. I'm trying to think of all the other Batman movies. I think there was a lot more Alfred in every other Batman film than this
I wouldn't
one.
be surprised if you really clocked it and there was no more than 12 minutes of screen time for Alfred.
Yeah, like you said, there was a lot more of Gordon and Batman than there was of Batman and Alfred or Bruce and Alfred. You know what I mean? And
because he's fully Batman.
Exactly.
He is Batman.
Yes.
You know, and that's the whole thing that works for this movie again. And I'm only comparing because of what we've had before and what we've been given. The whole idea of a character like him, the cowl being who he really is and the mask is Bruce Wayne. Yeah. That's more played up in other movies, and definitely like he's trying to play it's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me. Yeah. Well, in this movie, that's not true. I am Batman. And it's such a cool contrast when you watch it to see. First of all, the suit is gorgeous, obviously. I'm in love with it. I think it's great. The cowl I had to be sold on. I definitely had to be sold on. And I think it works really well for that universe, and it's the most tactical suit we've seen by far. The whole thing is the utility belt. He doesn't need a utility belt. They could have just not had one, and the whole thing was a walking armory. It was excellent. Yeah. Yes. But the fact that they did it that way was also different. Everything had a functionality to it. There was almost no reason for something on that suit that shouldn't have been there. Mostly it was all function, and then design came into play. But the fact that he looked so comfortable in the suit, and not like, I mean, like, oh, he's wearing a suit and he looks good. He looked like that, like he shed his skin, and his skin is that suit. And he's walking in and he's just so confident in places. And then they mirror that when he goes back to the Iceberg Lounge as Bruce Wayne, and he looks so uncomfortable. Yes, and people say, I don't like him as Bruce Wayne. Yes. You're not supposed to like him as Bruce Wayne. He doesn't like himself as Bruce Wayne. Damn, you're reading my mind. That's the idea. That's the idea of it. If you're like, oh, I didn't like him as Bruce Wayne, good, you shouldn't have. Yeah, he didn't like himself as Bruce Wayne. Yes. Right. In his mind, he is Batman. That's where he's comfortable. Exactly. And I want to take like HD screen caps when it all comes out on Blu-ray, DVD, whatever. I want to compare it. That shot is shot for shot. And the way he's acting it is the exact same, except one shot he's got the bat suit and another one he doesn't.
Right.
That's the only difference.
Right.
So
and
that was such a perfect moment for me.
You can see that almost uncomfortable ness of him being out of the bat suit when he's just Bruce Wayne in various moments throughout the film. I mean, there's also a very obvious nod to that he kind of is the Batman, in my opinion, is that one scene where it's the morning and he comes up to Alfred, and Alfred tells him there's some berries on the table, and he has sunglasses on. He's like he's squinting because the sunlight, and he's got sunglasses on. It sets the tone and the feeling and the message that like he is Batman. He's comfortable being Batman. He is the Knight. He's out there. He's doing that. And when he's Bruce Wayne, it's uncomfortable for him. He can't even see straight. He's out all night. He's doing bat things, and then even at the funeral scene, he just seems uncomfortable. He just seems
I
just got this vibe of like, besides the sadness and maybe the anger deep inside and things like that, I got that feeling of like he's uncomfortable being Bruce Wayne. Would much rather be Batman. And I think that's an amazing message.
Yeah. Robert Pattinson, he killed it for me, and it was a different version than what we've seen before. If you like him as Bruce Wayne and you like him as Batman, now if you like that version of Bruce Wayne, I get that. You're like, I like that version of Bruce Wayne. But there's no one who should have gone, oh, I really liked him as Bruce Wayne, because that wasn't the point of it. The idea wasn't to like him. He wasn't supposed to be likable to Alfred, to anybody. Why do you think they made his relationship with Gordon stronger? Because that's his true self. He's truly Batman, and Alfred's trying to push him away from being himself. And then when Alfred gets hurt, spoiler alert, then he realizes there's still that part of him, that Bruce Wayne, and his name hands. Wayne. Yeah, where Bruce Wayne can still be a part of this whole thing without fully having to become Batman.
Right. And while we're talking about him being Bat and everything, can we talk about the fact that I'm not certain. I'm trying to think. Of course, I haven't watched all the Batman films in a while. You know, I got to go back. Now I want to go back and watch certain ones too and pinpoint certain things that I have in my mind. But like the way that Robert, as an actor, portrayed himself when in the suit. I mean, just the movement that he has, and I don't just mean like literally moving, but like the what's the word? The emotion. The emotion in his eyes, like being able to say so much with just his eyes, with the cowl on and the whole suit on, and just being like the look that he would give, whether it was menacing, whether it was worried, whether it was concerned, whether it was figuring something out, no matter what it was, the dude as an actor, his movements, his eyes was one of the best emotional portrayals that I can think of as a Batman, in my personal opinion. And I think that was phenomenal acting.
I would agree. When you see close-ups of Batman's face, whether it's Dark Knight, the old Batman movies, doesn't matter what version you're watching, the close-ups are intended to show a extreme emotion. Right. For example, when in Batman vs Superman, when he's going after Doomsday and he's in the Batwing and he's shooting and he's got his teeth clenched and he's just showing like emotion. Yeah, everything is like a really aggressive emotion, which is great. You need to show that with a guy who's got most of his face covered.
Yes.
But with Rob's Batman, they didn't just do that. They showed every part of emotion.
Yes.
So the fact that the first scene where he walks into the murder scene, the first victim Riddler takes, and he goes into the murder scene and the cop stops him.
Oh, yes.
Going from an emotion of looking like a kid who just got picked last on the playground to I want to beat your ass so bad because my friend said I could come.
Yeah, exactly.
You see what I'm saying? And that's what it felt like.
Yeah, it did.
Felt like, I got picked last. And then all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm Batman. Like he forgets, like I'm angry about this. I want to be here.
Cops holding his chest, and it's like, and what you said about I want to beat your ass so bad. It's almost like I'm inches away from actually just doing it right now. You know what I mean? Like
I might just do it.
Yeah, and I could do it very easily.
And I love that they have him own that.
Yeah.
When in that scene, fast forward to the GCPD, and he says, "You just assaulted the officer." He's like, "Actually, I assaulted 3." And it's like boom, that one liner.
Yes,
he's
love
like, if you want to get
dude.
Technical, like something like that. I don't know exactly. I've seen it once, but that line just really stuck out to me.
I love those little jokes too, real quick, just to say all those like little, because I love the fact that they didn't throw in all this like dumb cheesy comedy that a lot of movies do, like where it's just unnecessary and it's just for laughs, and it's like doesn't always need to be that. But there were some more so, I guess you could say, comedic moments like that one, where it's just little one-liners. Even when he was like, you could have pulled the punch, Gordon tells him, and he's like, I did.
I did pull the
just
punch.
those like little things that added a little like a little laugh moment. They were done brilliantly and they weren't cheesy, and I always appreciate stuff like that.
Thumb drive.
Yes,
that was the first one, and that drove
thumb
it
drive.
home.
Yes,
Yeah,
thumb drive
that
is
was
another perfect example of doing it and not having it be cheesy. I love that.
The portrayal of the Riddler, absolutely fantastic. As creepy as I thought it would be.
I thought it was pure and utter perfection, if you ask me. I really do.
It was perfect, and it was extreme, and that to me, that part of it, the Riddler and his character and his whole plan and everything that happened in the movie there was the most realistic thing about that movie, which is kind of scary, and which is why I think it brought it home so hard. But the people who suffer from mental illnesses like that, and who think that the extremities are the only way to do things, and haven't gotten the proper help and can't afford the proper help, like going back to Joker, it does the same thing, mirrors like society as a whole, and then having these like frantic outbursts where it's like really extreme, you know what I mean?
It
was just so dark.
He
and
brought that home so perfectly as an actor.
He did.
He really did.
He did. So they killed it. Oswald Cobblepot, do we even need to say it? King, he nailed it. Colin Farrell, and then they
Farrell,
we're
God,
doing like a show about that, like immediately.
Yes, dude. Everybody did an amazing job at this, man. I mean, Matt Reeves said that this was going to be a detective crime thriller. He said that way before the movie even came out, and that's exactly what it is, man. I mean, thriller like crazy too. You were talking about the Riddler. There was shots of the Riddler, even just in the beginning, where he's standing behind the first on-screen kill that we see, and he just kind of appears behind him, almost horror movie style, like almost Michael Myers style, where he just kind of, the camera pans and you just kind of see Riddler standing behind him real quick before he kills him. I mean, it's same way that you see Riddler in the funeral scene, where you see him briefly atop the balcony, and the only person I believe that spots him is Bruce, and then he just kind of disappears. It's like, that's so perfect. That definitely is thriller.
And that speaks to the character itself, and maybe I'm overanalyzing it. I probably definitely am. But when I think about the character itself and how it was portrayed, I almost was at first when he did this number, right?
Yeah.
He appears behind the guy.
Exactly,
I was
like that.
nervous.
Yeah, that's a perfect example.
Yeah, and I went, how did he do that? He's not Batman, which I'm going to get to because he basically is. That's the whole point of the movie. But I'm also then realizing by the end of the movie, and this is why I want to rewatch it, and this is why people probably say they like it more when they rewatch it. The fact that he's been unseen his whole life and gotten through his whole life not unnoticed and unseen by people is how he's able to do it now. Like, that's how he's able to get in people's cars. That's how he's able to get into people's homes without them noticing. He's gone unnoticed for so long. It's part of his animalistic, like Batman.
You're right. I actually didn't think about that. You're right. It's almost like Batman, how Batman just appears and disappears in places. Riddler is definitely doing that throughout the entirety of this movie. He's just appearing and disappearing.
In the movie, Riddler is what in Batman and Bruce's eyes becomes a better version of what he's been trying to be. And that is first shown in the funeral scene when all of the people are cheering for the Riddler, saying expose, the politicians, expose Gotham's underbelly, all that stuff. And he's pulling in and he's like realizing they're not cheering for Batman. This is not for me. This is for the Riddler. And you can see when you say Robert Pattinson acting, his wheels turning. And when he talks to the mayoral candidate and she's trying to say, changes in Gotham, he's not listening because he's thinking, holy crap. Is everything I've been doing up to this point pointless? And is the Riddler right? And then all those people, when he's like in Batman mode still, because he's always Batman, and he's looking and people are like trying to cross the police line, and then that one guy comes in the side. Those are all the imposters at the end of the movie. And that is such a great way, because you're watching it and you're like, oh man, he's on high alert. He's looking for the Riddler. And then he sees it like, okay, well, that guy's not the Riddler because I know that Paul Dano's the Riddler. Okay, well, this guy's not the Riddler because that's also not Paul Dano. And then Matt Reeves goes, "Oh yeah, by the way, the Riddler's the main villain, so fuck you. They're all the Riddler." And you're like, "Shit,
exactly." Yes.
God damn it!" So Batman was right.
Yes.
Batman knew it was the Riddler. It was something off about that situation because Edward Nygma, Ed Nash, and you tell me, right?
Yes.
Is God, man, it's so beautifully written.
Amazing.
It's the nuances that drive it home. Because Batman wasn't wrong. He knew something was off. He knew something was going to happen. He was ready for it. And the whole time you're like, oh, he thinks that guy's the Riddler. What an idiot. And then you're like, oh, this guy's the Riddler. Obviously now that's not Paul Dano. Come on, Rob.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden at the end, you're like, oh, God, no, they all are.
Yeah.
Like Rob was right and I was wrong. I'm not Batman.
Yeah. And at the end, that one guy that he sees at the funeral scene where he's beating the living shit out of him at the end, and that guy says, I'm vengeance at the end to Batman as well. That's the guy from the funeral scene.
Exactly.
I love all that.
I know. The Batmobile chase scene was so raw. It was so.
Oh my God, I loved that. You know something?
These directors.
No, go ahead,
I was just going to say these directors like Chris Nolan and Matt Reeves who use the Batmobile they created as the orchestra and the sound to drive those scenes are genius. Like having like the tumbler when it's speeding up and going through the city and rumbling through the city, those scenes are some of the best Batmobile scenes in any movie. Matt Reeves changes so much and makes it his own, but the fact that he keeps that the same, like he's like, I'm going to use the Batmobile to drive this scene because the scene is about the Batmobile, right? Is so great, and it makes it again animalistic. It makes it a part of Rob and his person and his suit, you know. And it just and I see why the Batmobile is the way it is. No, there's no spoon-fed explanation. Sorry, Marvel fans. There's no, this is a car and I found it and it's my dad's car and I changed. Sorry, it's not there. You got to read between the lines, which is, it's a part of him. It's an extension of him. He made it. Lucius Fox didn't make it. And not everything is, everything's a $500,000 prototype for the army.
I love that.
That's great.
Dude.
Again, not shitting on the normal movies, but there was no explanation behind any of it. It was all prototypes for the army, prototypes for the army. And they gave Bruce Wayne a chance to just be Batman. I'm Bruce Wayne. Now I'm Batman.
Yes.
But how does Batman extend himself? How does Batman do these things? What steps is he taking? And that car felt like raw as the rest of the suit and the movie. So it was perfect for the movie. And
that scene with the chase and the penguin scene, oh my God. I mean, there's so many things to take from just that scene alone, from the acting of Colin Farrell, where he's like, yes, and he's like, and he's laughing and free, like so well done. And then the moment where he sees Batman.
I got you! I got you!
Jump through again. Yes, exactly. Absolutely amazing. I mean, even down to the score, the music, which I don't hear a lot of people saying. The music, when he's doing the chase scene, the music is only half of the Batman theme. It's like dum 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 dum, and then it's like,
and then the Batmobile fills in the rest.
Yes, exactly. I loved that, dude. I don't know if anybody else caught that, but I loved that. I was like, wow, that is so good. It's like amping me up too as I'm watching it. The scene itself was amping me up. The acting was amping me up. The music was amping me up. I mean, God, it was done so well. It was just done so well. And then after they catch him and they tie him up. And he does the little hop like a penguin. Did anybody catch that? Did anyone else catch that?
Yeah, he's tied up. You can't leave me here.
Yeah, you can. And he does a little hop kind of like a penguin. I just thought that was great as well. You know, another moment of comedy, but not cheesily done. It was perfectly done.
All the comedy was on point. Nothing felt out of place. And the stuff that felt out of place, I realized after and analyzing it was meant to feel out of place. And it was just, God, man, it was done so perfectly. It was done so well. And it was just such a different interpretation. And I'm really sick and tired of people feeling like whatever new version of a character or something, some media that we have come out, has to be as good or better than the last thing. It doesn't. It can just be different. And this is that case. The Dark Knight is one of the best comic book movies. Now so is this. And they're completely different in my opinion. There are some parallels, like Batman's in it.
Yeah.
There's a villain.
The little bit more grounded in reality comparisons as well, you know?
Right. There's comparisons. But to me, as a fan, I'm glad I have both. Like, I want more. Give me more, and I'll take any version that you throw at me, because if it's in the right hands, that director and artist, and this is what I was saying last episode about the costumes, we were talking about the cosplays.
Yes.
Can bring it to life and can shed light on it in a different way if it's done the correct way. And then you have a new version of something. Why do you want the same thing you've already had? I don't understand that. I don't get it. There's 70 years worth of material. There's amazing actors who can portray these characters. There's amazing cinematographers. There's amazing filmmakers out there who can bring a new version of this character onto the screen. Why do you want the same thing? I don't get it. But
Matt Reeves did an amazing job. Matt Reeves did an amazing job, man. How do you feel about Catwoman? I mean, from just as a whole, and then also Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah, she was. Zoe Kravitz knocked it out of the park like everybody else. Everybody was cast perfectly.
I think so too.
She did exactly what she was supposed to do. She was
100%.
There could almost be 100% a Catwoman movie.
I agree.
From her perspective.
I actually agree.
One from her perspective, because she plays such a large part that you don't know about until the end. Right. And then it's almost like you were like, oh, had I seen this movie, I might have seen it from this angle and come here, you know? So I feel like there's parts where she's with Batman, like when she goes to the Iceberg Lounge and then when she catches up to Penguin. But I feel like there's gaps in between that if they showed it from her point of view. Her
perspective,
do it, HBO Max.
Right.
Do another movie, man. Do an hour and a half of a Catwoman movie. Do 2 hours. I don't care. But I'm saying you could fill in those gaps and then just fill in the parts from the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And it would be perfect.
I feel like it would work.
She could run her own solo movie. She's fine.
I think so too. I think it would work great as a limited series as well. I think it's another one that would work great as a limited series. But that dynamic. That dynamic between the Bat and the Cat, and then also, of course, the actors. You got to give Rob and Zoe their credit for having such on-screen chemistry. I mean, like just like I said before about Matt Reeves understanding the assignment. Man, she understood the assignment as well. And just like you said, she knew exactly what she was supposed to do, and she did it.
Yeah,
she did it, and they did it together. I mean, they played that part perfectly, in my opinion.
I hated it at first, actually. So I'm going to be honest. I flip-flop a lot, but when they first were on screen together, I'm like, oh, this isn't going to work. And then that scene comes in where the cop comes in, he grabs her around the mouth and he hides. He's like, shh. And I'm like, oh crap. Now all of a sudden it works. Yeah. Because now now there's that similarity. And then again, I tell you, all the stuff that made me uncomfortable didn't fit. It fit later because it was supposed to feel that way. They were supposed to meet and you were supposed to go, this is weird. They're both like dressed up, wearing masks, and it doesn't immediately flow like a dance. Like there's that fight and you're like, okay, cool. And I'm just like, oh, is this going to work? Like, are these actors going to be able to pull this off? And all of a sudden that scene happens and there's a switch. And all of a sudden now they're Batman and Catwoman, and it works so well, man.
That ending scene, that ending fight scene atop the scaffolding part where Catwoman was watching Batman beat the shit out of that guy. The look on her face. I know that was a portion that was shown in the trailers, and I said that before when I covered the trailers, but just that moment where he snaps himself with the adrenaline, and he gets up and he saves her from, he was going to kill her, and saves her from being murdered, and just starts absolutely going absolute ham on that guy. And the look that she gives, and she kind of like scoots back. I just thought that was such a great touch, to where even she was like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, he's not fucking around here.
And I want to add to that. So even though it was in the trailer and it was touched on, watching the whole movie makes it different, because the whole movie, again, like I told you, things that bother me didn't bother me by the end. Right. And obviously, like, I'm biased. This whole review, by the way, anybody watching is biased. If you didn't like the movie, you can listen to our reasons, go off why we did. But I'm wearing a bat suit and I'm a big Batman fan. So I'm going to, it's going to be very biased. But even in that case, man, things that bothered me, okay? In the beginning, the way everybody made fun of Batman, like I told you, is that kid on the playground calling him Vengeance. Yeah. Like, that's laughable. All right, come on, Vengeance. Let's get in some trouble. Oh, Vengeance. And he's shooting the gun. Yeah. Like, I'm like, dang, they're like really downplaying the coolest part of the trailer. Yeah. Like, they keep making fun of him, calling him, come on, Vengeance. Yeah. And what makes that part great that you're talking about, when she stepped back, her face went, oh, fuck, Vengeance.
Yes, exactly.
Like, all of a sudden, in her eyes, you saw that's not a joke anymore. This is going to be a line that's crossed that he tried to stop me from crossing, and I can't stop him. Yeah. Like, let me return the favor. Oh, I can't. This is too late. Yes. That kind of thing is what it felt like. Yeah. So even though you saw in the trailer, you saw that glimpse, and you're like, that's great acting, the way it fits into the story is so much more to it than that. let's touch on the fact that no matter what has happened in any other Batman movie, okay, Batman's physical prowess is usually the final thing that prevails. Batman physically overcoming the villain. No matter what's happened with the story, what's happened with the situations, the villain, at the end, he will punch his way out.
Yeah.
The fact that he never once put his hands on Paul Dano's Riddler is mind-boggling to me.
Yes.
And there was a single time.
I think there was at least two chances that he could have, but he didn't. I believe there was an opportunity when they arrested the Riddler and Bat just let the police handle the situation. And I was actually sitting there thinking, because they kind of showed him come up. I believe, if I'm remembering it right, I believe he came up and you could see him from the window or something.
To the window,
I may
it's like
have
one
it
of the
wrong.
most beautiful shots. Yeah,
yeah, right.
It's one of the most beautiful shots in the. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right for sure. The fact though, like that Matt Reeves didn't let him is what I'm saying. Because in Batman's mind, the way he's going through it and he's working with like Gordon, he thinks he's a cop just by the suit design alone. The dude's got handcuffs on his utility belt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
You're going to go around arresting people, citizens arrest your Batman. Like he thinks he's doing the right thing because he's got, he thinks he's Adam West Batman. He's like, I work with the cops and they're all my friends. Like again, that kid who got picked last. And Gordon's like, no, guys, this guy's cool. Like, trust me. Like he's been with me for a while. Like
he had that voice too.
Let's go, Gordon.
Gordon had that voice too. You did it perfectly.
Perfect.
Yes, he did.
You.
It worked though.
It did work. So the fact like that Matt Reeves didn't let him and Batman's like coming up with the cars like, yeah, we got him. He's arrested. Like, go Batman, Team Batman. Like he's so proud of himself in that moment. And that's why Paul Dano smiles. So the fact that he never laid hands on him and Matt Reeves didn't let him is such a poetic justice. And you know what? Because of it, Batman loses, Gotham loses, and then there's a character arc.
Yes.
And that changes the movie completely.
Yeah.
That's when Batman realizes I can no longer be vengeance. When that guy says I'm vengeance, people almost go, well, why I've talked to some people like, well, why did that guy say that? He's not vengeance. He's like making fun of Batman again. No. Batman is looking in the mirror at that point, realizing vengeance is not the way because these guys have been doing things differently, but for the same reason Batman's been doing them. And it's led to this point, this breaking point where there's no coming back from, where he's seen is rage and going after Cobblepot and that rage infused, anger and all that stuff and going after him in the Batmobile and then trying to catch the Riddler just out of anger and vengeance. When he finally sees the guy and the guy laughs, says, I'm vengeance. He realizes, I just beat this man half to death, and he doesn't care, and he's smiling in my face saying he's vengeance. I'm the same way because he told Alfred, I'm not afraid to die. He's that guy.
I was going to say that.
He's that guy.
Yep.
It's a mirror image, and that's why it's so perfect. He realizes I can't be vengeance anymore.
I've been trying to reach you.
That prison scene, that's about the closest I believe Batman got to Riddler the entire movie. That prison scene, and it was behind the glass, and so well done. And he's like, no, and he's like, and he holds on to that eye, like you see just his insanity coming out right there. And I thought that was just one, such great writing, I think. Two, amazing acting from Paul Dano. I thought it was great, and it shows just his insanity. He's not 100% like a normal person. He doesn't operate like a normal person. He's not thinking like a normal person. His emotions are just going wild. And Batman's just standing there looking at him, watching all this unfold. And I thought it was amazing, dude.
I don't know. It's just, it works so well. Everything from the villain to Catwoman to Gordon to Gotham, everything worked well. And notice how everything we talked about wasn't just that really cool part where he escaped GCPD and flew down the city. That was so cool. But we've seen stuff like that. What makes that carry the weight? And it's that whole scene where you're like, Gordon and Batman are getting into a fight. Look at the trailer. Yeah. Gordon even finally betrays him, Yeah. Even in Dark Knight, Gordon lets like he yells at Batman. He's like, I have to save my family. He loses trust in Batman because Harvey has his family. And he says, I have to get my family. He's holding a gun to him and Batman jumps off the building. And then he says 10 minutes or something like that. Like he gives his friend the benefit of the doubt, like 10 minutes. This Gordon never had an ounce of falter in his friendship. He comes close, like, you're going to punch me. You're going to take these keys. And you're going to go outside.
I like
go to the roof and do Batman shit.
God, you
and
do the voice
like,
so good.
All right, I'm swelling up. I'm swelling up over here. All right, Jeff. I just wish he held him and went together. Like they were just best friends. And Jeff was on his back. And they're just like best friends.
Looking into each other's eyes as they go up. Yeah, we got this. You and I
would be okay with that.
Yes, man. Something that I love, dude.
Like at the end, him and Catwoman go separate ways and he gets in the car with Gordon and they just drive off.
Like high five each other. By the end of the movie, man, I think that this Batman goes from feared or a questionable vigilante figure to more of a beacon of hope and saving lives. And I thought that was absolutely amazing. And something that I definitely want to talk about is more towards the end of the movie, things that have happened in the end of the movie that some people are really, really happy about. Some people are questionable about, and that's the scene with what some are still speculating, but I have a bunch of quotes here, and I think it was kind of obvious, not to down anybody that didn't get it, but that it was definitely the Joker at the end of that scene, and I do want to talk about that, and I do want to get into that, but first, I think we need to break up the monotony just a little bit. And let's get into this week's Cosplay of the Week. Oh, yes. And this week's
that felt good.
Cosplay of the Week is none other than Chris GN_cosplay. And I have no idea if I'm saying that correctly. And it's Chris with a K, KRIS, GN_cosplay. And I'm throwing it up on the screen right about now. And it's Catwoman. Oh my gosh. This is absolutely amazing. Her real name is Christy. Christy, please correct me if I don't know. Maybe your Instagram name is Christian. I doubt it though, because your name is Christy. So that doesn't make any sense. So I'm just going to pronounce it as Chris GN_cosplay. And it's Catwoman.
Another riddle.
Exactly. It's another riddle. Please send me a card and we'll figure it out. I think this is absolutely amazing. We are talking about the Batman, obviously, so this was very fitting. No, it's not a Catwoman that lives in this Batman universe. This is more so the Catwoman from Tim Burton's universe. This is the Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman. This is absolutely amazing. The latex that you have, it's super, super accurate to the movie and everything. Accurate to some other iterations in comics and games as well, of course. But it's absolutely amazing. I mean, the mask that you have with the ears and everything. You even got the what's it called? The seams showing and everything. Absolutely amazing. The gloves on, the pose that you're doing is perfection. By the way, that photography is by someone who I've mentioned before, someone who I've talked to before, someone who's been mentioned during Cosplays of the Week before, and that is Ace Laps, ACELAPSE, Ace Laps spelled normally on Instagram. And the assistant for this photo, I would assume, assistant for the photo is Anexi_cosplay. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'll spell it out for people. It's ANEXEY on Instagram, Anexi Cosplay. And this is becoming more common ground for people that have tuned in the show since, I don't know, day one or even in the middle. You know that I usually only throw up one cosplay, and the point is obviously to highlight that specific cosplay, and then so that way people will go and check out everything else that they have. You know, it's like an excitement gets you go. I gotta go see more. I want to see more. But it's becoming more common ground to showcase a couple more photos or angles or whatever. So I want to throw up another one up on the screen right now that's also equally absolutely amazing. I'll throw that up right about now. And this one actually features a previous Cosplay of the Week with OB Arkham, and that's O.B_Arkham on Instagram as Batman, and she is still obviously Catwoman, and they're side by side, and I just thought this photo was absolutely amazing. Once again, the photo is by Ace Laps with the assistant Anexi_cosplay. This is perfect. I won't talk too much about OB Arkham because he has been on, and this is obviously about Christy, but this is perfection. OB Arkham has got his it's a bigger, bulkier bat, but it's it's more kind of like the Tim Burton bat with the yellow logo and all that good stuff. It's absolutely amazing, and definitely complement each other perfectly. He's holding her. It's the cat and the bat. Absolutely amazing. You get to see a little bit more of Christie's suit, a little bit more full-fledged. And I'll make a zoom up a little bit for myself as well. All the seams on the legs and everything. It's so amazing, you guys. Just think of the Tim Burton Catwoman with the latex and everything. She just did it perfectly, and something that
they killed it.
They killed it. Yeah, it's 100%, man. And something that I want to throw up just a couple other 2 pictures just to show you that I really think that Christy really embodies her cosplays, in my personal opinion. That's what cosplay is about to begin with, but I just think that she portrays this perfect image, like even just like with her facial features and the face and everything and the way that she does it. I do want to throw up this one of her as Gal Gadot. Like, it's absolutely amazing, and she tags the Red Notice movie, so if anybody saw that movie, she's dressed up like Gal Gadot from the Red Notice movie, and she's just got it perfect with the hat and everything, and the way she did her makeup and the facial features, even just the positioning and everything, and the lipstick. She just embodies her cosplays, even down to something, and I don't mean this in any disrespect at all, but even more so something as simple as just wearing the hat, doing the makeup right, wearing the shirt, and making it a Red Notice Gal Gadot cosplay. She just embodies it perfectly, and I think it's a job well done. And just lastly, I just want to show, I know this is a more DC-centric episode, but last one is her Kate Bishop cosplay, who also did a collaboration with, go check it out, with Josh. Man, I'm going to fuck it up again, Josh. I know we had this conversation too. Josh Padet, I believe it was Padet. I believe he told me it was Padet, man. Josh, P-A-D-E-S on Instagram. They did a collaboration with him as Hawkeye, which I featured him as a cosplay of the week, his Hawkeye at that, and her as Kate Bishop. And again, just phenomenally done. She really embodies her cosplays perfectly, and I really dig it. But, we'll end it going out with showing her Selena Kyle, her Catwoman, up on the screen. This is absolutely dope. You guys need to go follow Christy at KRISGN_cosplay, because Christy, your Catwoman cosplay of the week for me is, and Imposter is amazing.
That's the Jeffrey Wright version right there.
Yeah, that was good, man.
Amazing.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Imposter Cosplay Inside Project Podcast present.
Oh, it sounds like Jurassic Park.
Be quiet, Kyle. It's an ad. The new Project Park merch is available now on the Side Project merch store. Get yourself a tee in a variety of colors. Get yourself a hoodie in a variety of colors. You can also get it on a mug. Look at that mug. This is an ad. Available now on the Side Project merch store. Link in bio and link in description here on YouTube. And we're podcast stream.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
Oh,
Does
man.
that mean it's amazing to you? Yeah, dude.
Absolutely
fantastic.
Dope, dude.
Always a blast to be on this episode, man. On the episode with you and
yeah,
I.
Dude.
Definitely want to just. I know we're wrapping up, but we're not done yet.
Yeah.
And I think I just want to thank you for always having me on and talk shop. And I know you said it in the beginning, and we're close friends, and we always talk a lot. And then sometimes we're messaging back and forth, and then finally we're like, all right, let's just put this into an episode because now it's like going back and forth and we're going through, and it's like might as well just like script this all and just put it on an episode.
Exactly.
But we don't script it, we go through it, we talk about it, and it's just a blast to have me on. And I know I was just on a couple episodes ago, and I just my love for Batman and just being able to talk about it and sharing that with you and all your viewers and listeners is just a great opportunity, and I'm always thankful to be like on your episodes,
definitely, man.
So
no, I'm
just
thankful,
wanted to say that. But
thankful to have you here, dude.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
100%, man.
It's always a great time.
Yeah, and there's so much that we could talk about with this episode, and I know it's kind of. I know it's kind of
thinking like
there's so much.
Break
I know.
Down
minute
by minute, but
yes, this could definitely be a couple parter.
Right. Yeah. But I kind of wanted to like just grab like the big picture and like what it meant for me and all the reasons like I enjoyed it. And, I was talking to someone else about it and I brought up the reasons I enjoyed it and that they didn't like the movie actually initially. And then when I told them that, they said, okay, I really want to rewatch it now and like kind of look for those things. Like maybe it's a multiple watch type thing. And that's just like me sharing like how I felt about it. And I'm sure if I watch more, I'm going to be like, oh, I should have said that on the episode or think about stuff.
Same.
But definitely, on no movie's perfect. I definitely think if I had to nitpick, I'm going to nitpick here. Time could have been taken off for certain scenes. Didn't need to be, but could have been. Could have been. And the Joker thing was so unnecessary. That's what I want to get into badly. Paul Dani's Riddler. Yeah. I think it was so forced. It was unnecessary. Yeah. I almost feel like I wish WB and Matt Reeves were just given the opportunity to do an entire trilogy without the Joker. And then even tease the Joker in the third movie and never make it. Right. Like, I would have been happy with that. Could you imagine a whole trilogy with no Joker? Then finally when Joker comes back, the audience is ready. But right now I'm like, I just have Joaquin Phoenix and he's great. Yeah. I was like, you're not going to give me another dude, which he's a great actor, but like, I don't want him right now. I don't know, man. And that's something that I really wanted to get into, dude, is Matt Reeves on the Joker, dude, which is portrayed by Barry Keoghan, I believe. Some Americans pronounce it Keoghan, but I believe that's actually wrong. He's Irish, and the actual pronunciation is either Keoghan or Keon or something like that. I don't want to mess it up, but I believe it's Keoghan. Dude, Matt Reeves did a very lengthy interview with Variety where he spilled on what seems like way too much information, if you ask me, to be honest with you. Just my personal opinion. He spilled way too much information on what will be his iteration of the Joker and what's possibly to come or maybe not come at all, according to Reeves, and he may just be trying to throw us off with this, but he did confirm that the ending scene in prison with Riddler, who Riddler is talking to, is definitely the Joker, and he did confirm that it is played by Barry Keoghan. This version of the Joker was born with a condition. This is all coming from Variety, by the way. This is all coming from Matt Reeves' Variety interview. And like I said, I think it's too much information before we even get to see it, but let's talk about it. This version of the Joker was born with a condition that gives him a permanent smile. And Matt Reeves further elaborated on this by saying that he took inspiration from the original inspiration for the Joker in the first place, which was the 1928 silent film, The Man Who Laughs, which was based on a novel by Victor Hugo. Reeves told Variety, and I quote, "It's like Phantom of the Opera. He has a congenital disease where he can't stop smiling, and it's horrific. His face is half covered through most of the film," end quote. And then taking from Variety here, they state, even for a character who has just minutes of screen time, Reeves wanted to ensure that his film's Joker was imbued with a clear psychological motivation, so he also extrapolated what it would be like for a kid to be born with a condition in which he never stopped smiling. Reeves went on to say, and I quote once again, "It's not about some version where he falls into a vat of chemicals and his face is distorted. Or what Christopher Nolan did, where there's some mystery to how we got the scars carved into his face. What if this guy from birth had this disease and he was cursed? He had a smile that people stared at that was grotesque and terrifying. Even as a child, people looked at him with horror, and his response was to say, okay, so a joke was played on me, and this was his nihilistic take on the world," end quote. The Joker that we see in the Batman at the end is not a developed Joker, according to Matt Reeves, stating that he is still in his infancy. He is not the full character yet. Reeves described his Joker much like the Riddler, in a sense of being a serial killer at the least, with a main skill being manipulation. He also stated that the Batman and Joker have crossed paths before, which was a question that was on my mind, a question I see a lot of people talking about, is if they crossed paths before, being that it's 2 years in to this Batman's venture in Bruce's venture into being Batman, and the fact that how did Joker even get in Arkham in the first place? While we got no information on how, we did get information on who put him in Arkham Asylum, and that was confirmed to be the Batman. And lastly, although this very much so seems to hint a setup for Joker in the sequel, that it would include Joker moving forward at some point, Reeves stated that this does not mean that. And Joker being in the sequel is in no way confirmed. And not only that, he currently states that he is in no way convinced that Joker will appear in any more Batman movies at that, stating, and I quote, lastly, "It's not an Easter egg scene. It's not one of those end credits Marvel or DC scenes where it's going like, hey, here's the next movie. In fact, I have no idea when or if we would return to that character in the movies," end quote.
So with all of that being said, you already touched on it a little bit, and I kind of agree with you. And we'll round this out with that because I know it's running on a little long. And like I said, this could definitely be like a 2 or 3-parter. There's so much more that I want to talk about, but I don't want to turn two people off, and have it be too long. And they're like, oh God, it's too much. But I feel like the Joker is something that
cinematic shots.
Exactly,
like
right? Yeah, we're probably gonna have to do a part 2 or something, man.
That's why I've got all this, and I was trying to
I know there's so much there. There's so much, and this very much so sets up. This very much so sets up conversation about sequels and everything. And there's so much that I want to talk about the sequels, but we're definitely going to have to cut that and do that another time. But I do feel like the Joker thing is kind of a big deal, whether you're for it or against it. I feel like it's kind of a big deal. So I did want to touch on it on this episode before we leave. So I kind of agree with you though a little bit, man. Like, I kind of said from the jump, I don't think we should have a Joker definitely not in the first movie. That was what I've always said from the beginning. Don't give me anything Joker at all in the first movie. Second movie, I kind of still don't even want it. I kind of don't even want it in the second movie. Also being that's exactly what Christopher Nolan did. He was in the second movie. Yeah. So do something different. Yeah. Third movie, maybe.
It is. Maybe. Right. I'm going to say this, and except for that last sentence that you just read, I fucking hate everything about that. I hate all of it. I hate that he's in it. I fucking do. I hate everything that he uttered in those interviews. The fact that he's saying he's in his infancy, great. So now I'm going to have to watch another Joker movie. The Dark Knight is the perfect Joker movie.
Exactly.
This is why I actually prefer the Batman over the Dark Knight, because the Dark Knight doesn't have any development for Batman.
Yes.
Dark Knight Rises has more development for Batman, but he just ends up becoming Bruce Wayne and leaving Gotham, and that's not very Batman-esque, but I understand the choice he went with. I don't want it. I hate all of it. I think he's just spinning his webs, and WB's like, you need to get more traction, and we need to keep the hype going after this. I don't think they knew how well the movie was going to do. I hate it. I hate all of it.
I didn't like it.
The next villain should be Clayface.
100%.
It should be Mr. Freeze. I saw I saw some fan art of Daniel Craig as Mr. Freeze.
Oh, wow. Really?
I had a guy I follow. Yeah. A guy I follow. Everyone should follow Peacemaker Fandom. Very simple Peacemaker Fandom on Instagram. He posts a bunch of Peacemaker stuff, but posts on his stories about the Batman and other things. And really cool guy I've been talking to. He actually stated, what if, and spoiler alert again, but what if the flood in Gotham causes Victor Freeze to take serious measures and sudden measures to save his wife Nora, who's probably already in a state, and then he ends up having to cryogenically freeze her, and the flood is what causes him to become Mr. Freeze. That would be such an amazing way to show the flood again and what it really means for Batman, and creating a villain, but
showing what it did and meant to somebody else, another perspective, just like you were saying earlier in the episode with Catwoman. This, that's a good way for it to go back, show the flood, and show it from someone else's perspective. That's great.
And Clayface, everybody who thinks Clayface, they think animated series, and he can change his body and he's making shapes. But imagine a Clayface who's literally in pain, and Matt Reeves handling a character like that, who's in pain every time he shapeshifts. Yes. So when he's shapeshifting and he turns his arm into a hammer, that's painful for him, and it's like agonizing.
Right.
Don't tell me you're going to give me another serial killer. And don't compare him to the one you just gave me.
Right.
That sucks.
Exactly.
Oh, he's going to be just like this last guy. But he smiles all the time. You got to smile. And, and I'm doing the Chazosaurus Rex, and we're going to do that. The plumber voice from last week's episode.
Yes.
And the 2 weeks ago. And you got that. You got the guy, and he's a villain, and he kind of serial kills, and he makes some, the frying, the grease at McDonald's. And, he just got to smile. He smiles all the time. And people are like, hey, that's creepy. And he's like, I don't care. I'll smile anyway, and I'll do that, and it'd be good. And I'll be like the Riddler, and me and Riddler best friends, and we go palling around. Like,
and how would that work
at all?
How would that, I don't understand either. Paul Dano, just the Riddler as a whole, and then the actor as well, Paul Dano. The bar just got set so high,
and
for villains in general, but for that type of character. I agree with you. You're saying there's another serial killer, much like the Riddler, except he smiles a lot and he's really good at manipulation. But Paul Dano just kind of did that, minus certain things and certain character traits, but he kind of did that, and the bar's way up here. So and I know Joker's even more psychotic and stuff. Yeah, let him have that moment.
I hate when they overplay Joker just to underplay other characters, and that scene is what it did. It underplayed Paul Dano's Riddler. I don't think anything's going to come fruition. I think he's definitely going to read the comments, like I said, by fans, for fans. I think Warner Brothers was trying to get him to spin his wheels. If anybody sees the artwork, I will send it your way. You need to throw it up if Daniel Craig is Mr. Freeze.
Yeah,
Matt Reeves sees that, he's going to go with the Mr. Freeze route.
Well, Matt Reeves did say that he was considering Mr. Freeze.
And I'm telling you, if he saw
yes.
this and this fan cast, Daniel Craig
Yes.
needs to be it.
Yes.
And some people said the guy from The Mandalorian, the guy who was played Gustavo Fring in Breaking Bad.
Oh, yeah,
he's
I've been
good.
seeing that too.
But he's good at stoic stuff. I don't think Mr. Freeze should be stoic because he's already like his heart's frozen. So he shouldn't be stoic because then it's just like a boring character, you know? Even Arnold Schwarzenegger in some scenes played Mr. Freeze really well. Except for all the puns and the soup. But the emotional stuff where he's talking about his wife and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And the end where Batman's like, you know, help me save another life. And Mr. Freeze finally, like those are all great parts. And I know we talked about that a little bit before. I'm not going to get too much into other movies, but you talk Batman all day and find all the great stuff in all these movies because it's there. Because these characters have been around for so long. But yeah, we'll just round it out by saying like it was unnecessary.
It was.
And I think we'll have to definitely do a whole nother episode.
Yeah,
I know we're running on.
Yeah, and I know you got a schedule too, so I know you gotta
we'll
go.
Do a whole nother episode and do sequel talk after like a year when they get into sequels and we start hearing
stuff. Man, I want to talk about it so bad. I got so much to say.
Man.
I don't think Joker was necessary to second everything you said. I don't think Joker was necessary at all. I said that in previous episodes before this movie came out, my thoughts on it or what this could be. I don't think it was necessary to show him at the end at all. It took away from the Riddler, I think, in my personal opinion. It definitely gave everybody this vibe of that's what they're setting up in the future. It's like inevitable to think that, and then Matt Reeves is like, no, that's not what it was for. Well, then what was it for? Because that's exactly the message that you're giving off.
because they said we need Joker stuff.
I think so.
That's it, and that's probably the one thing.
Yeah, and to have and it does take away to have the same thing. Like you're already battling people's viewpoints and thoughts and opinions on other Jokers. So when you're gonna put a new Joker in this film, you're already gonna have to deal with like people loving Heath's Joker, people loving Joaquin's Phoenix Joker. You're gonna have to battle with that. Now you're gonna have, you just set yourself up to battle with the Riddler's portrayal too. Like so now you got to go above and beyond. Like why would you do that?
And I never thought I'd see a day where we'd have to judge another Joker with less screen time than Jared Leto. I never thought I'd see the day, and here we are.
Yes.
Like, why the fuck?
Yeah,
I just kill him off at this point.
And he also, Matt Reeves also said that his iteration of the Batman will not be including any other DC characters outside of the Batverse, and I think that's an amazing thing.
Perfect.
That's dope. He's too much to focus on, he said. So with that being said, though, too, Matt, since you're saying that, let's continue to think outside the box.
Right now.
Yeah,
he's got
exactly.
those project points, and he's sending them your way.
He's saving them. He's saving them.
Make sure he is.
So let's continue to think outside the box, such as what you did with this movie right now. I think moving forward, again, this is getting into sequel talk, but I'll say it quickly, is I think you do need to focus a little bit more on Penguin. I think that's setting that up. I guess it kind of depends on what the series is going to be as well, though, the limited series of the Penguin. But I do think let's put Joker to the side. Let's focus on a Victor Freeze. Let's focus on a Clayface, which I don't even, again, getting into sequel talk, but I know you kind of mentioned it before, but now that we know that this film is definitely a little bit more grounded in reality, how exactly does a Clayface work? Does it work 100% with the way that people may think?
I just don't think you got to make it. You can't make it like Sandman in Spider-Man 3, where he's always changing and he can change his shape and then he's sand.
Would he be it needs to be like giant though too? Would he be bigger?
No, he doesn't.
Or would it be more grounded like a regular
bigger,
human?
But he wouldn't have to be. I mean, this is just like now I'm going off like, ooh, this is what I want. This is what I'm thinking
exactly.
of. But,
that's why I said this could go on forever, man.
Let me tell you when I close my eyes when I see it. But it's like I think they could be done right and it can be done well. I think they just need to be able to push themselves there.
Right. He also stated he is interested in bringing Hush into this world, and I don't know if I want that. I don't know if I want that right now, though.
I think that should be third movie if anything.
Yeah, I don't know if I want that now.
Like I said, sequel talk could go on forever and ever.
Really could. It really could.
Yeah, I do want to do some shout outs. I did my shout out for you a little earlier than one, but just a few people. Like I said, Peacemaker fandom been super supportive. Bats Turd, great cosplayer, great editor. He's been helping me with a lot of my edits and teaching me about a few things here and there.
Yeah,
super
they're phenomenal.
Guy. You guys obviously and Juice and
it's his birthday, by the way, today.
Happy birthday, Juice.
Juice's birthday. By the time this comes out, it'll be a couple days later or whatever. But for anybody that stayed till the end of this episode and you see this and you didn't tell Juice happy birthday, go hit him up. Juice is the co-host for any new people that are around. Previous former co-host. It's his birthday. Sorry to cut you off. Just wanted to say that. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Yeah. And then just all the other Bat Bros like Foggy Knight, Bat Jeweler, all the people I worked with at that collab with them and Dark Knight. guy, and Mark Knight Rises. All these guys were really cool about stepping up to the plate and helping with that project, and they're all really supportive. And You Live the Con 91, he's a guy you should follow too. Great, amazing Batman cosplayer. These are all Batman cosplayers. John Bosch, he's on there. He's great. Everyone just really supportive in the community. So it's been nice to see that. And shout out to GC5FX who did the armor here and who's always willing to work with me on things and supply me with the best upgrades and things that I need. Unmasked Studio, as always, we got stuff in the works, something huge coming. So I'm super excited for that. And then I got another cosplay I'm working on with Parker, my son, actually, who it's a villain type thing I've always wanted to do, but never really had the courage to do and never really wanted to do because I didn't know how it would be portrayed. But now with him, I think we'll be able to do it. So within the next couple of weeks, you'll be seeing that. And I'm really stoked for that. It's really something that I've been looking forward to for a while. So shout out to all those people. Shout out to Projekt, Side Project Podcast. You guys rock. Thanks for having me on. Yes. I know it was kind of like an overbroad review. We didn't nitpick scene by scene and go chronological as we intended, but they never go as planned. So here we are.
And we improv'd a lot of this episode. We just kind of sat down and just went off memory, man.
Exactly.
And like I said, it could go on forever. It really could, It really could go on forever, man.
Yeah, man.
So you want to stay for the outro or you got to go?
I'm going to peace out.
Okay. No worries, man. You guys make sure you follow Imposter Cosplay at Imposter Cosplay, all one word, on Instagram. Thank you for coming, man. I appreciate it, dude. I'll let you go and I'll end the rest of this episode, man. Imposter Cosplay, ladies and gentlemen, awesome, dude. There's so much more that both of us wanted to talk about. I had little bullet points in my notes and everything, so I didn't forget certain things. Didn't get to everything, man. There's so much, dude, and I'm so stoked on talking about the sequel stuff. I really want to talk about the sequel stuff. I could talk about that for so long and what could be or what couldn't be or what should be or what shouldn't be and all that good stuff. But this episode's running on so long. I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you for staying till the end. If you did, thank you for watching, for liking, for commenting, for sharing, for doing all of those things you do on youtube.com/Side Project Podcast. When you go down and hit that big red subscribe button that says subscribe and you press it and you go, oh my God, and you get 100 sexy project points. Thank you for listening on Apple, Google, Spotify, and all those things that you listen on. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart if you listen on those things. Oh God, yes. If you're looking for me, you can find me at IG Hates Chazzy on Instagram, and everything else you need to find me at is right here. It's right here. Go ahead. You can't click it, but you can type it all in. Actually, you can click it if you're watching on YouTube in descriptions and all that good stuff, or if you're listening as well, it's all in descriptions and all that good stuff. All that good stuff is there. It's there. If you're looking for the podcast as a whole, you can find it at Side Project Podcast on Instagram. Oh, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Yeah, let's get out of here, man.